Now, over the years, I've read many things regarding the recording and making of Hysteria. A lot of it from interviews with the late Mike Shipley. And it was probably about 12 or 13 years ago that I came across all of his forum posts on a site called Gear Sluts. Over there, he seemed very happy to share all the little fascinating details into certain recording techniques and what equipment they used. And maybe I should make some videos about some of the stuff he talked about over there. But even if you weren't heavy into the whole engineering side of things, you may have heard that when it came to recording guitar parts, Def Leppard, for most of the time, they used something called a Rockman. Basically, like its similar namesake in the Sony Walkman, the Rockman was basically like a little portable headphone amplifier. It was made by Boston guitarist Tom Scholz, who was a bit of an engineering wizard to say the least. It provided the band with that tone they were looking for to, be able to layer up guitar parts cleanly and with clarity. Now, Mike Shipley has also revealed that the Rockmans they used were heavily modified by Tom Scholz. In fact, they're similar to a modification that ZZ Top used as well. And having had a couple of Rockman units, I can attest that they don't quite have enough to give the desired tone you're looking for, really. So, cut to last year, which was the 30th anniversary of Hysteria, and Nigel Green, who also engineered and mixed on the album, he revealed that there was another Rockman type unit that was used called a Rock-Box. Now, I may have missed this before, but I'm pretty sure this is the first time this has been mentioned. And not only did we have Nigel Green reveal that, but Sav, in an interview as well, he also revealed that the Rock-Box was used. And they both specifically said that it was used for the clean tone on Hysteria. So, what is this new mysterious Rock-Box then? Well, after many months of just casually looking about, I've managed to get my hands on one, and this is what a Rock-Box looks like. So it's kind of similar to the Walkman in its shape and just, I guess, what it's designed for. It's got a little clip there to strap to yourself if you want to use it as a little headphone amplifier. But it's got a couple of differences about it as well, and I'll put up some pictures of what it looks like on the front. But basically, we've got a couple of inputs. You can come out in stereo. It's got 5 or so settings here, like one to tune, a normal clean 1, clean 2, overdrive, distortion. It's got a delay and chorus effect that you can switch on and off. Now, my chorus effect, the knob's broken off, so that's pretty funny. On the side, it's got a send and return, so you can come out of the box and go into your own effects. And I think Nigel Green mentions that this was handy. And it's also got little knobs to set the amount of gain and compression on it. So I think it'd be cool to see what this sounds like and see if we can get some tones that are very similar to tones we hear in Hysteria. Especially covering how Hysteria, the song itself, was recorded, since they specifically mentioned using this box. So, let's see what it sounds like. Okay, so let's run through all the different settings we have here on the Rock-Box. Now, the first one is that tuning setting, which just helps you get in tune. It's got an A note there at 440 Hz. It's quite a handy little feature to have. You got to remember not to have the chorus on though, because it wavers the note quite a bit. Let's say pretty cool feature. Now the normal setting just sounds like a clean tone without any special EQ on it. Now the gain and compression knobs on the side, I've just got them on full. I have played about with them, but they're quite hard to turn, so I'm just going to keep them on full now, but I can't tell too much of a difference when I dial them back a bit. And with what this box has to offer, I can't imagine wanting to dial back even the slightest. So I'm just going to keep them on full. If I bring in the delay effect, it's less of what I'd call a delay and more like a spring reverb. Lots of little short, sharp repeats there. So that was on full. If I dial it all the way back, it just lessens the amount of repeats. So that's maybe more for like if you are using this as a practice amp, just to give yourself a bit of space. I can't imagine using that for recording purposes. The chorus settings, like I said, the chorus knob's broken off. So I don't know if this is it on full or the lowest setting, but it sounds like this. So you can hear it's quite a slow rate, of course, but it's got quite a high depth. It's really affecting the pitch. In fact, you can hear it clearer when I put it on the tuning setting. So you hear it's only every so often we're getting that little waver, and it is affecting the pitch of that note quite a bit. So it's a cool little chorus. If we check out the clean tones now, so this is clean 1. A lot brighter. Check out clean 2. Clean 2 is your more mid-range. But on both of them you can really hear the compression take effect. And this is kind of what Nigel Green alludes to in his interview. The fact that they like the sound of this box, but the compression was just too much. I mean, you can really hear it taking effect. Like every time I strike a note, it's ducking down everything else underneath. And that's just how compression works. So in this case, it's basically, it reduces the dynamic range. So instead of having quiet notes and loud notes, it kind of squeezes them together so everything's at the same volume. So he's basically saying that the noise of, finger movement going over the string is basically as loud as playing the actual notes. So when it came to record the actual Hysteria riff with Sav, they ended up just playing each kind of chord shape one at a time, just to limit that kind of string noise. So if I was to play the whole thing together, you can kind of hear the finger movements of me sliding up and pressing my finger down the frets, and they didn't want any of that. So they recorded each chord shape individually. So I do this, stop it there, go back to the start, get your next chord shape ready, play it, and when it comes in, punch in with this. Stop there again, put it back to the start, play it through, when it comes to the next chord shape, punch in, and so forth. And that does seem a bit overkill, but I guess when you're talking about an album like Hysteria, which is so pristine, it's these little details that just make it sound as polished as it does. So I was on clean 2 there. I think that sounds more like the Hysteria tone. Clean 1's a little bit brighter. I can imagine this being used for something like the Armageddon chorus. And it's got that kind of brighter tone, and even on the little bridge progression. But what you might find is that they'd probably layer up like a clean 1 and a clean 2. Because when you layer up different tones, that helps you get the kind of a wide effect. So they're pretty cool tones. Trying to think where else is clean guitar. Like, the kind of clean chord hits on Animal. Imagine that being used, or even the kind of main. Possibly could be used for that as well. Okay, so if we check out the overdrive sounds now, this is what the first one sounds like. So kind of like a cleanish crunch there, but had a little bit of dirt about it, but it sounded, you could hear every note of that full chord it did at the end. So let's compare that with the full-on distortion. It sounds something like. So I have a lot more gain on that one. It's a little bit more muddy. But this is what I found with the Rockman as well, and this is maybe why they had to modify the Rockmans, is that, this distortion setting, this is basically the most gain this box has to offer, and it still maybe doesn't have enough to play kind of like lead stuff, It just didn't quite have enough to hit that clean pinch harmonic at the end. But for rhythm stuff, I can imagine the distortion box be for like your main kind of power chord stuff, you know. Maybe stuff like that. And then the overdrive setting, I could see that being for more of the orchestrated parts where you just need a little bit of crunch, you know. So maybe like the chorus parts in Hysteria. You know, just providing that little bit of edge about it. I can maybe hear it on parts as well, like the intro to Armageddon, you know. Even sticking with Don't Shoot Shotgun, like this, that little bit before the second verse, you know, you have one guitar going. You know, little licks like that. Maybe in Gods of War. But it's really hard to kind of guess with the overdriven parts because they're layered up so much. But what I can do now is actually compare some of these effects with the multi-tracks from Pour Some Sugar on Me. Now, many years ago, a friend of mine sent me some multi-tracks from Def Leppard. It was like Bring On the Heartbreak, Rock of Ages, and Sugar. And this was like mid-2000s maybe. And I assume that these multi-tracks were leaked because they featured in the TV movie, the Hysteria, the Def Leppard story. Because you can hear parts in that film where they're using bits of these multi-tracks. What I'll do now is I'll pick out some guitar parts on Sugar, which I think this box can replicate, and we'll see if we can pinpoint some tones. Now, those were examples I picked from Sugar as being what I thought were closest in tone to the Rock-Box. Now, obviously, there's a lot more guitar parts on Sugar, but they all sounded quite distinctively different. And they could have possibly been the modified Rockman tones, but those were the ones I thought were probably closest to the Rock-Box. Now, I should say that all my examples just came from the Rock-Box. You know, I didn't apply any kind of external EQ or effects or anything like that. and any kind of chorus or reverb you heard were the ones on the unit itself. Now I do think some of the examples shared similar characteristics in their fundamental tones. Now obviously there's different EQ and effects being applied to the multi-track examples. I do think if you use a little bit of your imagination, you can hear the similarities there. The best example to me is probably the chorus 2 lead. I think that gets quite close. Now maybe in the future I can experiment a bit more with this unit and see if I can get a lot closer. But for now I'm pretty happy to know that this is a piece in the Hysteria recording puzzle. And that's a puzzle I don't see getting solved anytime soon, but I guess that's the fun of it all, and it keeps me wanting to read more about the album.